Definitely joining the Hive was the number one thing that's got me here. So kudos to you guys. I was on quite a good path, if you like, before I joined Hive. Sort of got the clinic busy, moved to the bigger premises, but I was still working a lot of that time. But when I joined the Hive and learned a lot from you guys, I learned about employing people and making the business work for me more than me working for the business. So I have done my very best to try and make my life what I want to be, like what I want to live, if you like, in terms of I love working, but my family is the most important thing to me and I want to be there for them and I don't want to miss, them growing up, my kids growing up.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Optimise Practice Podcast. I'm your host today, Blake Sargent, and today I'm joined by the amazing Fiona Kumar. She's going to share with you her journey about how to build a practice while simultaneously putting your family first. So Fiona, welcome and thank you. Share with us, how did it all start for you?
Hi Blake, thank you so much for inviting me on here. So my podiatry journey started quite a long time ago now, quite a few years. Actually, podiatry was my second degree. I retrained in 2008, qualified 2011. And then I worked in the NHS for a bit, getting all my experience and specialising in various things. Got married and had my first child. And then had my second child. Went back part-time, then had my second child. Was enjoying what I did, but clinics were very busy. Often ran late, didn't always get everything completed before I left because I'd have to go and pick up one child from nursery or whatnot. And after I was on maternity leave with my second child, Daisy, I was thinking about going back to the NHS, sort of more part-time to make it work around the kids and especially my older child in school hours, which was proving quite difficult. And I actually got a phone call from a clinic asking me if I was interested in a room. And at that point I thought, I don't know what to do, but I had planned to eventually sort of do something privately. I was thinking maybe when the kids were older, but the opportunity came along and I thought if I don't go for it now, it might never come along. So I did. And I started really small. I had a room in a multidisciplinary practice. I was doing sort of 3-4 days, and I only when I started, I just did a sort of day and a half, plus I was still doing a little bit in the NHS. And then I just built it up slowly because the kids were little and I didn't want to sort of go all out. And then as we were getting busier, I got a couple of associates and we got full sort of 6 days a week. And then in 2021, I decided to look for a bigger place, which I found locally. And I refurbed the whole thing and we went for it. So it's a 3-room clinic above a physio. And when we went there, that's when I had to employ my first receptionist. And it was me and a couple of associates just doing one room. So the other 2 rooms were empty. And then quite quickly after that, I needed to employ another pod. And it just sort of went from there. But as time's gone on, I've wanted to be in clinic less rather than more. So I've sort of reduced my hours and a lot of the other pods have taken on most of the clinical hours now. And we're at the stage now where we've added a second clinic. I'm actually at the second clinic location today. And the grand plan is to go bigger, maybe in the next year or two, because we've sort of outgrown that 3-room space now as well. So yeah, it's grown quite a lot.
Nice. So with regards to putting boundaries in for family time and talking about the way things are for you now in your practice, how much you have to treat, what happens with school runs, what happens with school holidays and half terms, perhaps you can give people a snapshot of what you've created to be able to still put your family first. And then after we'll backtrack and then you can share with people what the steps were you had to take to end up with your ideal scenario, i.e. a practice that delivers your context, because everybody's got their own goals in a practice to deliver a certain life. And what I love is that the way you've created those boundaries to put family first. So what's your current reality?
So at the moment, I do a couple of mornings in clinic a week, and my weeks are very varied because I created them that way. So a Monday, for example, I'll do in the morning, I might do a bit of fitness, walk the dog, and I will go into work for a couple of meetings, like one-to-ones, and then I have to leave about 3:30 to pick up the kids, and then take them to their clubs and whatnot. Tuesday's a similar situation, although I'm doing one extra clinic at the moment in the new place until we employ someone else. And Wednesday I do a morning clinic at the main clinic in Claygate, and in the afternoon I will go and see one of the kids' matches. Thursday I do a bit of admin at home, dog walk, a bit of fitness, and catch up on a lot of stuff. And Friday I do a morning clinic, and then again go and see one of the kids' matches in the afternoon. And then I don't do anything at the weekends, it's all kids stuff.
Very nice. And how does it work with holidays and half terms then?
Well, I'm very lucky because my husband's a teacher at the kids' school. So when the kids are off, my husband's off. And initially, when I was starting, the private clinic and everything, I used to work whenever he was off. But nowadays, it's much easier because I'm not doing loads of the clinical work. So I will try and take more time off when the kids are off on holiday. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago was half term, so I just take that week off. Even though we didn't have any plans to go away, I take the week off clinic. And I may do a few bits and pieces on the laptop at home, but it means I'm at home and around about to take, the kids out and do stuff with them, and my husband, and we get a lot more family time. So similarly at Easter, the kids get 3 weeks off. So I think 2 of those weeks I'm not going to be in clinic.
And the long summer holidays, what did you do last summer?
I probably took maybe 3 weeks out of, my kids are off usually about 8 weeks, but I probably took 3 of those off out of clinic to go away and do stuff or just be off. But the good thing that I've got is I'm only really doing 2 mornings a week. So a Wednesday and a Friday morning, I'll sort of say, I'm off to clinic, but I can be back by lunchtime. And I can do a lot of my one-to-ones either on Zoom or just pop in and out for that if the kids are doing like clubs or, seeing friends and stuff. It makes it very flexible. And it works really well in terms of being able to work around them. If I know I'm only doing a couple of morning clinics a week, then I can arrange everything else around that. Or I can just say, you know what, I'm not going to do it for these 2 or 3 weeks in the summer. Because it doesn't make a huge difference to overall revenue, or taking to the clinic, what I do, because I take quite a small percentage of that now. So in terms of that, it doesn't make a huge difference to that. But I do still like to have a bit of a presence around the clinic for supporting the other clinicians and the admin team as well. But they know they can contact me anytime at home. So
it sounds like the dream scenario where you've got a profitable, stable, highly respected practice that can work without your daily input. You can take weeks off at a time. You can take the days off you want. You can choose your hours during the week. You can be there. You can not be there. So the question is, for everyone listening, and I'm sure as well, how do you do that?
Well, it's not been easy, I've got to say. It's definitely joining the Hive was the number one thing that's got me here. So kudos to you guys. I was on quite a good path, if you like, before I joined Hive. So I'd already sort of got the clinic busy, moved to the bigger premises, but I was still working a lot of that time. But when I joined the Hive and learned a lot from you guys, I learned about employing people and making the business work for me more than me working for the business. So I have done my very best to try and make my life what I want to be, like what I want to live, if you like, in terms of I love working, but my family is the most important thing to me and I want to be there for them. I don't want to miss, them growing up, my kids growing up, especially not in the holiday times when they're at home quite a bit. So I needed to find a model that was going to work where I could actually make that a reality. So what I did was I gradually started reducing my hours. There was nothing ever drastic in my model or my plan that I did. Everything's been a very gradual sort of change over time. So the first thing I did when I moved to the bigger premises was I employed a full-time podiatrist. And as soon as I did that, because I was, doing the main caseload before that, as soon as I did that, it then split the caseload. And I was freed up a little bit more. And then I spent a lot of time mentoring them. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And so every time I've employed someone, we've spent time training them, mentoring them, letting them understand how the business works, the level of service we expect, what our patients expect, and working as a team, creating a really good culture so everyone wants to be there, providing a really nice clinical environment with all the equipment they need to provide that service. And every time we employ someone else and grow the team, I'm doing a little bit less. So I'm at the stage now where I maybe do less than 10%, maybe 5% of takings. And eventually the grand plan would be to sort of make that zero. But at the moment, I enjoy it too much. So I still want to do, what I do. And we still continue to grow. And, my clinical part in the business will keep reducing. But it's been very gradual. And I think the main key things are spending a lot of time training podiatrists and, the admin team, and creating a culture where everyone works as a team, knows what their roles are, and are able to provide an amazing service. So they know they can always come to me or ask anything, but we have quite good, robust systems in place to guide people. And we have a practice manager as well who sort of ties everything together now. So that has freed me up even more since we got practice manager about a year ago.
That's amazing. I saw this thing online, I can't remember who it was from the other day, that says if you've got to do everything in your business, then really you're just babysitting a business. You're just a babysitter.
Yeah.
But a great leader spends their time building teams and systems. And I think that's something you've become really good at. You understand your role is to build those systems and build the teamwork on the team. And then it becomes a business rather than a job or something that we're babysitting that's fully reliant on us. So share with us the team then. So you've got a 3-room practice plus another practice that you've just opened, which is sort of your overflow.
Yeah.
Give us the snapshot of how many people you've got, how many hours they do. Are they all employed? Are they all 5 days? What's the team that runs this that allows you to have for it to not be reliant on you on a daily basis?
Yeah. Okay. So we're not massive. I do a couple of mornings a week. Then we've got 2 other full-time podiatrists and one who is 3 days a week as well. So all in all, it totals about 3 full-timers as a podiatrist. And then we have the practice manager does about 30 hours a week. And then we have 3 receptionists, which they're all part-time, and they sort of total 1 full-time, if you like. So we've always got reception cover. And we're about to go out to advert for some more clinical support in the form of podiatrist and or foot health practitioner, because we're busy, very, very busy. So.
Nice. So it's basically a team of 8 and then hopefully soon to be 9. You've got nice freedom. You've got nice flexibility with your reception team because you've got 3 people covering.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the introduction of the practice manager. Because for a lot of people don't have that, but I think that's been a big shift for you. So talk us through the decision first of how you decided that had to be the next thing for you.
Yeah, so maybe a year, 18 months ago, the clinic was busy. I was the person that everyone came to, which I always had been, and admin, and I sort of did a lot of training and would sort of implement a lot of systems, if you like, and teach them to the team. But I knew as the team was growing, the realization was coming that if I really did want to extract myself a bit more and be able to take that step back physically, and if I ever did want to say I'm going to be out for a month or whatever, I wouldn't be able to do it at that point because the team were still too reliant on me. They'd still have to contact me, or they'd need me to do something. It couldn't run completely without me. And the clinic was getting busier and busier, and it was just becoming clear that we needed somebody on the ground, if you like, sort of operationally managing the clinic on a day-to-day basis, being able to sort of be the go-to person for reception and admin, and also help out with podiatrists in terms of logistical bits and pieces as well. And just sort of management of patient flow as well, because we can get quite a lot of people coming in and leaving all at one time, and certain pieces of equipment, like we've got one Swift machine, may need to be moved between, rooms and, things like that. It was all getting a little bit sort of busy in terms of that. So I knew it was time that I needed to find someone to take on that role and almost be my deputy, if you like. So they need to take on a lot of what I had been doing and be the sort of person who sits between the team and me. I didn't see it as a role for anyone in the team currently, so I went out to advert and found someone who was perfect. And they didn't have any clinical background, but they were the right person. So I knew they were going to fit the team. They had the right personality. They had a really good work ethic, and were really willing to learn about the clinic. So they started maybe 9 months ago. And she's been amazing. She's really transformed the clinic, I've got to say. And every person in the team has had positive feedback. So it's been a good thing. And it was a long time coming, basically. And she just ties everything together. So all the stuff on the ground, if there's any, stock issues or whatever like that, she'll be dealing with it. Any queries from patients on the phone that are not able to be managed with reception or whatever, she will deal with it. Podiatry queries in terms of equipment, or sometimes if there's an issue with the diary, so an overarching view of the diary management, that type of thing. And then from my perspective, I've been teaching her a lot about sort of Hive values and how things are run at a higher level on the practice and the context as to why we do what we do. She's been heavily involved in implementing some new systems to make the practice run smoother. And she comes up with loads of really great ideas, which I never would have thought of. So it works really well. And she's really enthusiastic about growing the clinic. She's on the same wavelength in terms of where we're going, our vision and our goals. And I think that's the key thing, really. They have to understand, what are you all about, why what you do, and where are you going, so that they can bring that in on a daily basis. And yeah, they're really about sort of not being you, but taking, what they know from you and sort of bringing that into the team on a daily basis when you're not present, if you like, and just, keeping things ticking along. And you just know when you're not there, it's fine. It'll be dealt with. And if there's a problem, of course, they're going to contact you. But most of the time, it just does what it needs to do. So it's been a big game changer in terms of me being able to take a bit of a further step back, if you like. So
nice. And big question behind that then is, how do you afford it? Because obviously, if you're not the one revenue generating much anymore, and then as you add in a practice manager, that's a non-revenue generating salary. So the money obviously has to come from somewhere. So talk us a bit through the maths of how you reconciled that.
Okay, so if you speak to my accountant, he would have said don't do it. Because like you say, they don't generate revenue directly. But I knew to keep providing the service that we provide and to keep improving, it was something I needed to do. and in order for the business to progress. So although they're not directly generating revenue, I think they do indirectly, because they make everything else run smoothly, more efficiently. She actually works a lot on our marketing and our social media, so I think she could probably be attributed to some of revenue generating income, but and the growth of the business, a lot of that is down to the systems and the way the team is run. And also the long-term vision. So I'm a big believer in, you got to make decisions short-term to get long-term gains and to get where you want to be. So I knew that I'd have to take the hit financially to pay her a reasonable salary, knowing that if the clinics continues to do well and grows, we're going to employ more clinical team members like podiatrists and foot health practitioners, which will then generate more income in the long term. So it's a tool that allows you to grow more, and you have to look at your long-term business plan when making decisions like that. You can't just one day decide, oh, I think I need a practice manager. You have to know what you want and where you're going with it. So yeah, I mean, we're about to now go out to advert for another full-timer. So the plan is working. That's all I can say. Like, we're still able to pay the bills. We're still able to provide a really good service. Everyone's happy in the team. And I get to pretty much design my week on what I want to do. So I would never thought 10 years ago I could say that, to be honest, when I was working in the NHS. But you can do it if you make a plan and, decide what you want to do and just go for it. You got to have some balls, I've got to say. You do have to make decisions that are not easy, and take a few little risks here and there. But yeah, I think anyone can do it if they really want to.
Amazing. So what's your parting piece of advice to anyone aspiring to create a scenario where they have such control over their practice? I think that's the thing for you, control of your finances, control of your freedom. Yeah. That's ultimately the dream, isn't it? That a business should be a vehicle that isn't all consuming, but that's something that enables us to actually live the life that we want. And too many people are trapped in a model that means they don't have the finances and the freedom, and they're stuck it, and then they don't get to live their life they want. So what's your parting piece of wisdom for people?
I think there are, you say, so many people stuck in that they almost can't see the wood for the trees. So you definitely have to be able to sort of check yourself and take a step back. There usually needs to be a pinch point for you to say enough is enough. And once you've got to that stage, I think the most important thing for me is setting out a clear vision. From where I was to where I am now is miles apart, but I would never have got here if I hadn't had something to aim for. You have to have clear vision. What is it you want and why do you want it? And then almost work backwards. So once you know where you want to get to, you then have to figure out a plan of how you're going to get there. And it's baby steps. Nothing's going to happen overnight. I think you just have to know what you want. Definitely have to be able to motivate yourself to get there. You got to have a little bit of something that sort of pushes you on. For me, it was the kids and the family part of it, but you've got to have something that makes you want to get there, and then break it down. If it's you've got to employ someone else so that it can ease the strain on you, then that's the first step. Whatever allows you to take a step back and have a little bit more of an overview of how to get somewhere and spend a little bit more time on the business rather than working in the business is going to be beneficial. But yeah, my main thing would be just set the goals and break it down.
Nice. Clear vision, work back on the steps, the rocks to get there.
Yeah.
And then one day people can have a business that ultimately works without them.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your expertise. That's all for today's episode of the Optimise Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe. Follow us on social media as well so that you never miss an episode. And if you want help building your practice, you want help building a profitable, stable and highly respected local practice that can run without your daily input, just like Fiona's, then reach out to us at the Hive and we'll do everything that we can to help you guys out. Thank you, Fiona. I'll see you all in the next episode.